It is now 5 a.m. on Thursday morning, and I'm now officially on my way back home to Taiwan. You need a shower first though.
And I am finally back home here in Taiwan. I cannot wait to tell you everything about my trip from Sweden to Taiwan, but for now I just want to stay here in my lovely Taiwanese home for just a few days, doing absolutely nothing at all.
Lukas, how about we go to Xiaoliuqiu instead?
Why not?
Okay, I think it's best for us if we back up a little bit, because I'm sure you must have thousands of questions right now. First of all, where am I? Second of all, how long have I been here? And are the rumors true that I am now finally back home here in Taiwan? And to answer all those questions, right now I am actually down at Xiaoliuqiu, and I do also need to admit that I have actually been back home here in Taiwan for a few weeks already. So I thought, just to bring everyone up to speed, I just wanted to give you a little bit of information what has actually happened since my previous video, that last day in Sweden. And I also wanted to specifically talk about that one thing that happened at Taoyuan airport as I was landing here in Taiwan after my 5 weeks vacation back home in Sweden. But first things first, so let's do a recap and head back to Sweden and that absolutely last day in Sweden when I am getting ready to go all the way to the airport.
And of course, the absolute last thing I did before I left my dear home in Sweden was of course to take a photo together with my parents. But for everyone's sake, especially my mom's, I think we're actually gonna skip over the next couple of steps here on this trip, since the next thing up was actually to say goodbye to my parents, since they actually drove me to the bus station where I was gonna take a bus to the airport. And although this bus trip started off very sad with saying goodbye to my parents, I was actually pleasantly surprised, since there was absolutely no problem traveling across the entire country this time, which was the first time for me using Swedish public transportation. So I actually managed to arrive at the airport with a couple of extra hours to spare.
Still around 5 hours until the plane actually leaves though, but super happy. The suitcase has wheels again.
And although I of course was super happy that my suitcase finally had wheels again, as soon as I came to the airport I realized that I actually had to wait an extra 3 hours before they even let me in to the departure hall. But that actually also gave me an opportunity to use my Swedish coffee subscription one last time, which was actually very lucky, since of course even at the Swedish airport you cannot use Swedish cash. And then it was finally time to board the plane and enjoy that emergency seat row, which once again I cannot thank you all enough for. This was 100% thanks to all of you, all my channel members and everyone else who gave me a YouTube super thanks or Facebook star, so I can upgrade my seat and actually enjoy the entire flight back home to Taiwan again. And then after a 6-hour layover and editing process in Dubai, with not too much sleep in between, it was time to board the next plane with the final destination of Taiwan.
Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I have actually been back home in Taiwan for a few weeks already. And I have to admit that I actually came back here to Taiwan just a few days after the rumors about Pelosi coming to visit Taiwan started, and so also did the China threat regarding this Pelosi visit. So if you put 2 and 2 together, or if you just watch to the end of my previous Pelosi visit, then you will actually see that I was actually already back home here in Taiwan when I was recording that video. But that means that I was actually on the plane traveling through the airspace coming here to Taiwan in the middle of these threats and the rumors of Pelosi visiting here. And when we was actually arriving to Taoyuan airport, the pilot announced that due to a situation at the airport, we actually had to make countless of loops around the airport before we could land. And you know, in the back of my head I knew about these Pelosi threats from China, so it was a very uncomfortable 20 minutes just circulating in the air above Taoyuan airport. But after around 15-20 minutes or so, we finally were able to land at Taoyuan airport. And I think that every single passenger, as soon as we landed in Taoyuan, we simply forgot about all these Chinese threats, since we had some other issues to deal with, which were the COVID-19 quarantine process here in Taiwan.
And again, just like the COVID vaccination process, during the COVID quarantine process here in Taiwan, everything is clearly explained to you and there will always be people or signs taking care of you literally throughout every single step of the entire process. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail regarding this, as I personally hope that this entire quarantine process will be completely gone soon enough. But long story short, as a quarantine arrival, you will get 2 COVID tests, which you should save until your home quarantine, and also a container for the on-arrival saliva test, which means that you will go into one of the booths at the airport. Technically the booths are outside of the airport, but still within a dedicated quarantine zone, and then give 5 cc of saliva, which is a lot, especially after a 36-hour-long dehydrating plane ride across the world.
But of course, in addition to all these COVID-19 procedures, we also had to go through normal customs like everyone else. And this is where I had the most heartwarming and most welcoming moment I think I've ever had in Taiwan. So there I was, first in line to go through customs, and then the custom agent and I make eye contact, and then he says, "Lukas, oh, 你回来了. Welcome home." and maybe it's not that big of a deal, and maybe he just wanted to be polite, but this was right after I made my last day in Sweden video, where I got a little bit emotional regarding how amazing it was to be back home in Sweden, and also the fact that I've actually never really felt at home here in Taiwan. But just having this custom agent telling me this, welcoming me back home to Taiwan, it just really hit me, and this is something that I would never ever get to experience in Sweden, which is my home country, and it just really felt like I am actually belonging to Taiwan and that this is my home. And of course, it helps to have a YouTube channel, and of course that's how he knows me, but it was just felt so much more like home, and having that amazing Taiwanese signature welcome, technically even before you're officially here in Taiwan. It was just absolutely amazing, and something that I will bear with me for a very long time. But now we also need to jump back to the COVID-19 process, since we are far from done, because now it's time to do some testing, and also that one part throughout this entire process which I feel like Taiwan have the biggest opportunity to actually improve for both other foreigners living in Taiwan, but also future tourists if they are gonna have to go through this exact same process.
Then once you're done with the saliva donation, it's time to leave the airport and head for your quarantine location. And it's actually only 1000 NT for a taxi throughout entire northern Taiwan, all the way to Geelong, which I thought was pretty incredible. But I should also mention that the biggest downside and bottleneck of this entire quarantine process was to actually wait in line for 45 minutes to get a cab. So the entire process from landing to leaving the airport took around 2 hours in total, with waiting for a cab being 45 minutes out of those 2 hours. You still have to spend the next 3 days in home quarantine anyway, so it's not like you're in a hurry to go somewhere, but I just felt it was a little bit annoying after such a long flight, and I hope that they do find a solution for this if they do plan to keeping this quarantine process for a little bit longer. And after around 1 hour cab ride to my apartment here in Taipei, it was time for a 3+4 quite uneventful quarantine process in my apartment, where I spent around 90% of this quarantine time editing all the videos I have recorded in Sweden but not yet have time to release. For example, giving all my friends and family 32 kilos of Taiwanese snacks, drinks and treats. So if that is something that you want to see, please do remember to subscribe to this channel and to hit that bell so you get notified when all those videos come out here on the channel.
So there you have it, now you are all caught up. And to explain why I'm here specifically at House of a Nomad in a little bit more detail, I hope that you remember Ray, who is the free diving instructor who moved from the US via Hong Kong and then settled down here in Taiwan on Xiaoliuqiu as a free diver instructor. Well, it turns out that he has actually expanded his business since we made that last video together, since he now also is the owner of this House of Nomad, where both long-term and short-term visitors, both free diving students and basically just anyone who wants to escape the busy streets of Taipei or any other city around the world, just come down here to Xiaoliuqiu to just recharge the batteries, maybe just work a little bit extra, or just simply enjoying a great time in the ocean, or maybe just one-wheeling around the island a couple of times, more like 8 or 10 times during a week here. And as you can see, they also have a huge common area with this space for meditation, relaxation, yoga, stretching, or maybe you want to be crazy enough to actually work during your stay here in Xiaoliuqiu. And as if that was not enough, Raymond is actually the founder of the Facebook group Xiaoliuqiu for Foreigners. So regardless if you actually are staying here at his House of Nomad or if you are taking his free diving classes, he will actually take care of you and help you answer every single question you might have about Xiaoliuqiu on that Facebook group as well. Before we finishing this video, I also wanted to remind you that on Tuesday, September 6th, I will actually be up in Tianmu at Eddy's Cantina, where we will have a 200,000 subscriber special podcast on his channel. So if you are around Tianmu or in Taipei, please do head over there for what in my opinion is the best Mexican food in entire Taiwan, and just come there, say hi. I will bring some JBW juice that you can try out as well. Of course, you will have all the information, both the House of Nomad, race freediving classes, and the event at Eddy's Cantina down in the description. So Ray, thank you again so much for letting us stay here this week, and for everyone else, thank you all so much for watching this video, and to all of you who have actually met during my first couple of weeks back home in Taiwan, who have asked me what I am doing back here in Taiwan, since you all thought I was in Sweden, and who also have come up and just congratulated me for the 200,000 subscribers as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Lukas. Starts with L as in like, ends with S as in subscribe. Please do both, and see you all on Tuesday.